The way you say goodnight to me brings a feeling hard inside of me. Quivers down my backbone. I got the shakes in my thigh bone. I got the shivers in my knee bone. Shaking all over. Quivers down my backbone. I got the shakes in my thigh bone. I got the shivers in my knee bone. Shaking all over.
We got Terry Crain with us today as a co-host, but let me tell you, it's not every day we get the VIP right. The woman that is embedded in pop culture forever in the USA. There's no bigger. She is America's sweetheart. She was a music, as I said, icon, signed to Capitol Records. She was on Shindig, the original show. She was on all the beach movies, right? Muscle Beach Party, one of my favorites, got to tell you. Bikini Beach, Pajama Party, Beach Blanket Bingo. To me, that's like boom, boom. That's great. And let me tell you, she's got one of the greatest podcasts on the net, Loves the Secret Weapon. And I'm a big fan, Terry. And as Donna knows, I follow everything she does because she's just fantastic now in 2022. How are you, Donna?
Oh, darling, plastic, it's so kind of you and great to see you. You know, I wish I was down under with you. I congratulate your country for moving forward for the environment. Thank you.
No, thank you, Donna. We know that you've got a conscience for the world. You love the world. You love the environment. You love the people in the world. And I just, I'm spellbound because people like you are so fantastic. They really care about the world. And that's what really matters to me. Like today, we're going to have fun. We want to entertain people. Now, I got to tell you, you're wearing a fabulous dress just for the show.
Yeah, I'll stand up a little bit so you can get a little of the detail. And this dress is from 1966, and I wore it for a promotional advertisement with Batman and Robin.
Unbelievable. And I mean, doing Batman and Robin, Batman and Robin was the biggest television show on the TV. And let me tell you, that was here in July. It was 1 week ahead of the Monkey Show. So you had the Batman on, and then after that, you had the Monkeys premiered here in Melbourne. Let me tell you, I'm about 8 years old. Don't get me wrong, but I used to run home from school just to watch those two shows because it's like the golden age of television. You can't beat it. That's what makes you embedded in pop culture forever, Donna.
Well, that's amazing that you're choosing two shows that I was fortunate enough to be part of.
But also there's Gomer Pyle, right? And we know about Gomer Pyle where it goes, golly. What was that like?
Golly.
Well, Jim Neighbors, I mean, he was a true gentleman, and very, very kind actor. You know, he's very generous. He assisted me. One scene, I was looking out a window, and I was in my bedroom on the second story of this scene, and he was looking out the window as well. When I looked through the window, I came back and boop, hit my head. and I saw stars. But he seemed to be there for me. And so the camera kept rolling and nobody knew the difference.
What a story. Now, working with Batman, I've got to ask you, what's it like working with Adam West and Burt Ward in real life on the set? That must have been like a blast. You know, the Joker's walking around, Catwoman's walking around. I mean, this is before its time. There was nothing like it on TV, Donna.
Well, you'll see Plastic and Terry. You'll see the day that I'm wearing this very dress, that Adam West got a little bit cuddly and shy with me. And literally every day that I showed up to shoot on the set, he would greet me with a kiss on my lips. Oh, that was and then ironically, of course, you have Burt Ward posing for another promotional pictures called Robin's First Kiss, and he's holding his hands like an altar boy right where he might show a bit of a reaction.
I got to say, Donna, you got a fantastic figure. Now, to put that dress on for us, Terry and I, we're blown away. I'm serious. What a fantastic figure you got. And you actually, how can I say, you stood up and actually showed us the dress. That's really great. Now, I've got to say, being the Dr. Pepper girl, and you were the only Dr. Pepper girl, you know how many hearts you broke and how many hearts in America you melted. And when you were singing the Beatles songs, like All My Loving on Shindig, I mean, Paul can sing it to the girls, but the guys had no one to sing it to. So this is where, again, you come into pop culture and it's unbelievable. And not only that, I've got to say, you singing Goldfinger, right? That's one of the best versions I've heard. I actually rate that as good as the original that came on the film. And also Shaken All Over. I mean, not only do you sing, but you put the dramatics into the singing. Like there's so much, in other words, in your career, you've done everything. You've done more than anybody I know because everything has been like hit the high, hit the high, hit the high. It's amazing career, Terry.
He's the man with the Midas touch, a spider's touch, such a cold finger, beckons you to enter his web of sin, but don't go. Disguise what you fear, for a golden girl knows when he's kissed her. It's the kiss of death from Mr. Goldfinger. Pretty girl, beware of his heart of gold. This heart is cold. Kiss of death from Mr. Goldfinger. Pretty girl, beware of this heart of gold. This heart is cold. He loves only gold, only gold. He loves gold. He loves only gold, only gold. He loves gold.
When you look at the movies that you were in and all that, especially the beach movies and all that, it's always you got the crew that at the end they end up at the at the the hideout or the hangout or whatever it was. But if you look very closely at those things, there's a cup of Dr. Pepper sitting there. There is a bottle sitting on the shelf. There's Donna sipping one as. And I'm thinking product placement back then was awesome, because did they have people that walked around that literally would set those up for you, or how did that work?
Okay, well, here goes the very long-winded explanation. Here's the scoop. The vice president, no, the president of the advertising agency for Dr. Pepper at the time was also a screenplay writer. And he co-wrote Muscle Beach Party, where Dr. Pepper Company got involved in sponsoring the movie. So they brought me in initially as a teenager, as their spokesperson, to broaden their base of distribution coast to coast, because the film would be distributed from New York to California and everywhere in between, and then it would be shown all over the world. So I show up and they put me in that, I think it's called Big Drags, whatever, cafe. And Don Rickles, and they plunked the bottle in front of me. Now, at all times, there was a Dr. Pepper representative there from the headquarters of the company, always making sure that I, as their representative, was doing their product justice. Okay, and of course, then I was 16 years old, so I needed a chaperone, and it was my adopted father who was my chaperone, my manager. Then the musical director, Al Sims, uh, decided to listen to some of my Dr. Pepper commercials. And when he knew that I could sing, he introduced me to Dick Dale, and that's how the duet came about.
Okay.
Now, there's one other aspect to that duet, because Brian Wilson co-wrote that song, took it in the studio thinking that the Beach Boys would perform it for the film. The Beach Boys would be in it. Stevie Wonders would be in the film.
Yeah.
So there would be that aspect, not just the kind of Buster Keaton comedian, slapstick comedy, and then some of the authentic movie stars of a bygone era. And, I mean, this whole plethora of Hollywood, right? So then Dick Dale invited me to his house, and we were staying outside because he had cages stacked up by the pool with his very large cats, tigers, lions. And then, and I'm kind of intimidated by that. And also kind of my heart hurt for them being caged, Then I look over to the pool and there's a dolphin in the pool. And that's where we rehearsed the Muscle Beach. So Brian Wilson recorded the track, and you can hear his voice in the background. But then it was decided that Dick Dale would be featured, and suddenly I was put into the mix. So that's the story of the duet.
Man, it's a great story. If you take that part, because I watched it the other day and I stopped, I rerun, and I kept watching it slow. I thought, well, there's a Dr. Pepper bottle there, there's a cup there, so they did very good on their job back then about product placement all around everybody.
Everybody do it now. Move a little muscle now. Everybody kick the sand. Come on now. Just like a muscle man.
It was pretty cool.
Absolutely. And then, of course, Dick Clark got involved, and a lot of his tours and his shows were sponsored by Dr. Pepper as well. And so I worked with him very closely doing all kinds of events and even some commercials.
Unbelievable. Now, Donna, I've got to ask you 3 of your greatest Beatles songs. 1, 2, 3.
Ooh.
Just take your time. Any 3 Beatles songs.
Well, when I was traveling for Dr. Pepper and I would sing at their, events, I would always sing Can't Buy Me Love. And so that's one. And of course, I love Yesterday. And I also love Michelle.
Michelle, my belle. In my mind, and you know this, when I hear Richie Valens singing Donna, oh Donna, every time I hear it, my mind just goes thinking straight of you. It's like it's automatic, but you're the most famous Donna that I know. And personally, you're the only Donna I know. So here's Richie Valens playing this song in the car or on the radio, and straight away my mind goes to you. Did anybody in your life ever tell you that Richie Valens songs?
You're a doll.
That Richie Valens song reminds them of you?
Sometimes, yes, I would say so, but not as emphatically as you do.
Well, I'll tell you what we're going to do, Donna. We're going to play that song for you right now. I had to say that.
Oh, Donna, oh, Donna, oh, Donna, oh, Donna. I had a girl, Donna was her name. Since she left me, I'd never been the same. 'Cause I love my girl, Donna. Where can you be? Where can you be?
Now, I also want to ask you, Donna, working with the Monkees on the TV show, I mean, what an experience at that particular time, right? Because that show was huge. And they were, as I said, was the first time that a TV show had the backing of a film company and a record company combined to have the biggest promotion for a band at that time. And the Monkees actually used their real names, which is unheard of. And in the first year, I believe their merchandise brought in $20 million. So to be on that show, as I said, they don't look anything like the Beatles. I've got to say that. They don't sound like the Beatles. They have the American sound. They had the Wrecking Crew behind them on the first early songs like Last Train to Clarksville, which went to #1 before the TV show. Then they had I'm Not Your Stepping Stone. And the big song, as you know, because it's my favorite and your favorite, I'm a Believer, which went to #1, the only song to go to #1 in the US and the UK simultaneously, and have 1,100,000 copies pre-ordered. Is that unbelievable, Donna?
Yeah, that song is one of my favorites. Absolutely. And I love the way Mickey sings it.
I thought love was only someone else, but not for me. Our love was out to get me. That's the way it seemed. Disappointment haunted all my dreams. Then I saw her face. Now I'm a believer. Not a trace of doubt in my mind. I'm in love. I'm a believer. I couldn't leave her if I tried. I thought love was more or less a given thing. Seems the more I gave, the less I got. What's the use in trying? All you get is pain. When I needed sunshine, I got rain. Oh, then I saw her face. Now I'm a believer. Not a trace of doubt in my mind. I'm in love. I'm a believer. I couldn't leave her if I tried. Then I saw her face. Now I'm a believer. Not a trace of doubt in my mind. I'm in love. I'm a believer. I couldn't leave her if I tried. Yes, I saw her face. Now I'm a believer. Not a trace of doubt in my mind. Said I'm a believer, yeah, 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 yeah. Said I'm a believer, yeah, I'm a believer.
So I met Davy on Shindig originally wearing kind of a striped blazer and a straw hat and holding a cane. He was doing kind of a song and dance man kind of routine on Shindig. And then lo and behold, probably a year or maybe a little bit longer than that, we end up being betrothed by on the show by You Tell Me, the Chic.
Yeah, that's right.
And then I recall, this is kind of a side note, that my husband Jared is sitting right next to me, so I have to get his approval.
Hello, Gerard. I want to say hello to him. And also, his friend is the one that played on the little old lady from Pasadena, PJ Proby. He played high notes on that song. Is that right?
P.F. Sloan.
Oh, P.F. Sloan, sorry.
P.F. Sloan, who wrote Secret Agent Man.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And Eve of Destruction. Yes.
Hi.
And when Jared and P.F. Sloan were teenagers, they made a surfing album called The Fantastic Baggies. And their hit song was called Tell 'Em I'm Surfing.
Unbelievable. We learned everything on this show.
Hey, Mom, if any of the guys from my baseball team ever call me on the phone to ask me to play in an important game, just say their captain ain't at home. Tell 'em I'm surfing. Don't care about hitting home runs. Tell 'em I'm surfing. Have me some fun. I'm trading my bat and ball, sail, singing in the fall. I'm going surfing. And if that pretty little
So my little story, it's a side note with Davy. Um, for lunch break, uh, he followed me out and was starting to kind of whisper sweet nothings. And at the time, I had just turned 19 and I had just learned how to drive. And I also got a brand new little red Corvette convertible. And I drove it unchaperoned to my to the set, although my adopted father followed me there because he was also my photographer, so he had to document everything. But that gave me the liberty when Mickey said, "Do you want to come to my place a little later?" And I said, "Well, okay." So I did. I drove to his place not far away. And I entered his pad to a throng of groupies that were drooling all over the place. And he opens his door and says, "Come on in," and escorts me to a private room. And I felt very strange walking through this group of girls uh, suddenly. And then he decided to make a few advancements, which I wasn't prepared for. So when he took my hat off, and I knew, is that all? No, no, no. So I put my hat back on, said thank you very much, and got back into my little red Corvette.
I got to say, being on the Monkey set, I mean, this is why I say you hit the mark every time in your career. And it's an unbelievable thing because you go from Shindig to Batman, then you go to the Monkeys. You're on the peak all the time in your career. It's just an unbelievable career, Terry.
I know.
So in this country, I don't know if you can relate. I think it's pervasive all over the planet. But, there was a serious racial problem here and still is, and, still dealing with it. But at the time when I started working for Dr. Pepper, gave me the education of my life. Because even though when I signed my contract, that at 16, I dropped out of my high school and enrolled in a professional school, which I had to kind of mail in as I traveled, didn't really give me that experience. But my real education was going into the southern and midwestern part of this country, where especially in the South, where the segregation was so intense from 1963 to 1968. That's where I spent a great deal of time and had a hands-on experience of what it felt like as, as a little white girl from LA, originally Boston, but still, having these uh, heart-wrenching experiences of going to a bathroom or a drinking fountain or even walking down a road, and the segregation was so intense. So unfortunately I saw that, but the antithesis of that was I also had an opportunity to make eye contact with so many people, and coming from where I grew up gave me the opportunity to show them a different side, that it didn't have to be that way. And I just, I don't know. I hope that left an impression, because so many people now, have progressed, even though we're still struggling with the same old issue.
Now, I just want to tell you, Terry, as you know, the Beatles, they played to all races, and they made sure in their contract that they played to all races. They wouldn't. They said they wouldn't put up with it. They just play to everybody, no matter who's in the audience, which was a great thing for the Beatles.
In 1964, when the Beatles hit, and they were hot, and you were hot in the middle of everything. I mean, everything was going on. So you've got Beatles memorabilia everywhere on the shelves. They're going nuts with the dolls, the jewelry, the games, and everything like that. I want to know if Donna Loren ever paused for a second and bought her own some Beatles memorabilia, or what did you have from that time around there?
So, Terry, thank you for that question. I did, you hit the mark. I did love Sergeant Pepper.
Mhm.
And so that album cover just drew me in. And I ended up supplementing Sergeant Pepper for Dr. Pepper. And I incorporated that into my public appearances for Dr. Pepper. So that was one thing. And then I had a friend who was a promotion man, and he went to the Hollywood Bowl in 1964
Mhm.
when the Beatles performed. And at the time, I'm sure I was not in town, but anyway, when I saw him the next time, he gave me the Beatles autographs. So I do have that little bit of memorabilia. And I found out technically that only one of the Beatles actually signed the card. I, have you heard about that? Yeah.
Well, yeah.
So John Lennon actually signed the card, and the others were signed by the fellow that, would do it for them.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think some of the stories, even John, some of the stories, John could sign his own name and sign the other three the way they looked also. They all had this unique ability to do that. But yes, all the everybody else in their entourage could all sign theirs. But it's great. You've got the one. That's great.
There's a collector that actually has 4 sets. In other words, Paul's written everyone's signature, Ringo's written everyone's signature, George has written everyone's signature, and John's written everyone's signature. Yeah. And the 2 main people that used to autograph the signatures were Mal Evans and Neil Aspinall. They're the 2 that used to do it.
Ah,
And whoever wanted to do it. Seriously.
amazing.
What a great, but see,
Well,
that's you've got a really unique one there. I mean, think about that.
Yeah.
You don't have all 4, but you've got the one and the other 3. So these combinations are just amazing.
so then I just thought it would be interesting for you to know that I was able to attend the last waltz of the band,
Mhm.
and of course Dylan was there, but so is Ringo. And I recall sharing a seat with my first husband, and only one seat. It was a folding chair that had enough room for half and half. So and we were like right under the stage, and here comes Ringo bending down, not wanting to disturb anyone, wearing this kind of deep purple velvet blazer. And so I thought that would be fun for you to know that I brushed shoulders with him. And then in the, when was it? In the 80s. Yeah, in the 80s. Now, this is kind of obscure because George had a, what do you call it? He went into comatose. And I was going to the acupuncture doctor who revived him. And they had a very, very strong, close relationship after that. So on one occasion, George donated some money to support this doctor as his business was building, and contributed to a clinic that was kind of, on a grand scale. And a lot of celebrities were starting to go for acupuncture at that time. It was kind of new in the Western world. But once I tried it, I'm a sucker for life. I love acupuncture by a really, really good practitioner. But anyway, so I'm outside of this new building, and there's George. And he's standing all alone, and he's got his foot up on the wall, and he's looking around like a little, a little skeptical, like who, I don't recall exactly when things happened to him, but he had, I would say, a little paranoia, and so you could see in his eyes that he was guarded. And even though he was polite and very soft and very kind, that, just being alone, that was kind of strange because there were a lot of people there celebrating the opening of this clinic. But anyway, I had a chance to, be nose to nose with George Harris.
Amazing.
Now, I've got to ask you, 1964, Donna, I've got to ask, who's your favorite Beatle?
Ooh. In 64, I have to say Paul.
Okay. And as I said, did you like I Saw Her Standing There? Was that one of your favorite songs?
Oh, of course. But I want to hold your hand. I mean, that just blew me away. Oh, and I do have a kind of a, what do you say, a secondhand story about Paul, because my son is a musician who got to play on one of Paul's albums in 2004. So by osmosis, we got, the family we introduced, sort of. But I know that my son loved the experience. In fact, I think I was with him when he got a call that he was invited to a party, and he dropped everything. He's like, I'm leaving. It's like, bye, see you later. Got to go to Paul.
Now, Donna, I want to ask you now, with the podcast, and you do the podcast with Dr. Adam Garachi, and it's fantastic, the guests that you have on, the fans that you have on, the stories that you tell. And I mean, it's just fantastic. You're going from strength to strength on the net, and it's always interesting, your shows and your guests.
Thank you so much, Plastic. Well, so many people during the beginning of the pandemic kind of decided, well, what am I going to do with my creative juices? It's like we're kind of in lockdown, and I don't want to go into a fear space. I want to stay in my creative space. So Dr. Adam and I had worked on a memoir of mine for about 5 years, and it was in manuscript form. And even though I had a book published previously, which Terry has, I decided, well, maybe I should just read my memoir. And with Dr. Adam, who's a PhD in psychology, and a very, very dear friend that I don't have to hold back, I can be completely honest. And he always helped me explain things about my life that I didn't understand so I could write about it. And he agreed to do this podcast with me. He's in Adelaide. I was in Palm Springs at the time when we started. Now I'm in Arizona, in this little town called Bisbee, which is, oh my goodness, I have another Beatles story. Wait a minute. Oh, so this little town of 5,000 people is this relic of kind of like turn of the century, and it's all what do you call it, historic. All of the buildings are classified historic from around 1880 going forward. And no one is allowed to change the facade of a building, but you can go in and renovate. So people like Paul McCartney and Eric Clapton have been seen roaming around our little town of Bisbee because we love vinyl. And there are so many stores here that are antique stores that keep a section of vinyl. So another aspect of your Beatle livelihood, your Beatle existence, and speaking of the Beatles, tell me, who besides the classics, Beethoven, Mozart, Bach, the classics. Who will be played in 300 years?
Yep.
Who will be played from this era?
The Beatles.
That is, that's truly iconic. There's only a handful, right?
When the Beatles played Shindig, I need to know, was that done in the UK and then they got that film and placed it into the show? Or did the Beatles actually play live in the States Shindig?
Not in the States. What happened is, I believe that was the fourth Shindig show. And because the producer, Jack Good, was English and had a very strong relationship with Brian Epstein, he took the show to London and had the Beatles star in Shindig. And what he told me is that they went back in the studio and re-recorded their tracks to sing live too. So that was only because of Jack Good and his love of the American music that created the English, British invasion. And so they decided to take some of the Shindig cast, but I probably was traveling for Dr. Pepper or, otherwise occupied, or I would have gone. I would have loved to have been there, of course.
The swinging 60s. Now, I got to say, with the Beatles, Jack Good actually introduces The Beatles Are Coming, and we're going to hear that now.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm a humble man named Jack Good. I'm also the producer of Shindig. I thought it might amuse you to know that the Beatles are coming!
Now, Donna, I got to say, being signed to Capitol Records, being in the Beach movies, and being there when pop culture is actually happening, and of course, you wouldn't realize it. When you're on the set singing the songs on the Beach movies, and I mean, it's like, all I can say is you look back at that golden age. It's like pop culture forever. Every Saturday here in Australia, people used to watch the Beach movies. And I've said to Lauren before, our culture, we're trying to find our culture in the 60s. So when we're watching American TV, we got the beaches. We got the bikinis. We got the girls. But we don't have that identity. So when watching the Beach movies, we're going, hey, this is cool. We should be at the beach. We should be singing and dancing on the sand. That should be our scene. And this is why everything came into Australian culture growing up. And you're thinking, gee, the Americans, they're really cool. The British, they're fantastic too, but they really don't have sunshine and they really don't have beaches. That's like fact. Like where I live here in Melbourne, I got to tell you, when you go to the beach, you can go to Queensland. That's a different state. That's hotter. So you got beaches that are hot. But here in Melbourne, it's sunny one day, freezing the next. I would rather be in Greece where I know it's the Mediterranean water and you go there and it's sunshine and the greatest beaches every day. There's no comparison. Well, I can't compare the beaches in the UK to like the US. It's like a different scene.
And it's not even in general in the US. It is Malibu. There is an energy, and there are energies, there's magnetic vortexes all over the planet. And Malibu happens to be a particular vortex for the sand and the sea and the music and the camaraderie and surfing, that whole culture coming together, and the innovation of the music for those elements all coming together. So I think it's Malibu, and it's a long stretch of beach, but it is a magical place, and it stretches on for, I think, about 30 miles. They have lots of choices, and we hit everywhere from just beneath the Ventura County line called Sycamore Cove, and that's where we did beach blanket bingo. And then we moved down to Paradise Cove, and that's where I did Among the Young for Pajama Party, and moved down to Topanga Beach, where I all the beaches along the coast And that's where it was concentrated. It's like being in Paris, or it's I'm sure there's lots of different places all over the planet that are just have that special. Well, even in Arizona, we have a place called Sedona, where the red rock monuments are that Mother Nature created. And it's a vortex of energy that, it's like an eighth wonder of the world, like the Taj Mahal, it's Empire State Building, and on and on. But they're very special places.
Out where the sun shines bright all day, down the coast toward Malibu way. That's where we dance, that's where we swim, where there's a her for every hymn, 'cause that's the way it's done among the young. Suntan boys in surfer pants, teaching all the girls the latest dance. We walk the dog, we do the twist, we do the swim, yeah, it goes like this, 'cause that's the way it's done among the young. Girls in bikinis steal the show. Yeah, walking down the beach to and fro. It's summertime, we have a ball. We live it up, yeah, till the fall. 'Cause that's the way it's done among the young. Among the young. 'Cause that's the way it's done among the very young. That's the way it's done among the very young. And that's the way it's done among the young. 'Cause that's the way it's done among the young.
I've got to say something now about the Beach Boys, Terry. You see, the Beatles had it. They gave American music and reworked it and represented it their way to the American public. But I like the Beach Boys because the Beach Boys are already hot in the US. And what they were doing, they were concentrating on surf, the girls. But for those Americans that lived out in the Midwest that didn't have beaches, they're working on cars. So what they do is they're smart. Let's do the beach and the girls on A side. Let's do the cars on the B side, and we get the market. That to me is brilliant marketing. And they were with Capitol Records, of course, Donna.
1964, there are over 300 Beatle novelty songs written and released. I mean, you talk about Beatles Flying Saucer, Ringo, I Want You for Christmas, I Want to Marry a Beatle, all of this stuff, and they're all awesome. They're so bad, they're great. So what I wanted is, Donna, how did you avoid not having to do a Beatle novelty song at that time? Because that was the hottest thing to do, it seemed like.
Oh, well, I guess someone wasn't wise enough to point me in that direction.
Any of your friends or anybody that you remember?
Sure. Hey, Terry.
Besides Cher.
Yeah, she's her friend, and she did a Beatles novelty song. Which one was it again?
Ringo, I Love You. But that's when she was Bonnie Joe Mason, though.
Wait a minute. Who are you talking about now?
Cher.
Oh,
She
really?
did one. Yeah.
Bonnie Mason.
Cher, before she was Cher, she was Bonnie Joe Mason.
Oh my gosh. Well, that's a new one.
And she
I'm
did
gonna
a Beatles
I'm going to play you
novelty
this song now. What's it called again, Terry?
Ringo, I Love You.
I'm going to play it now for Donna. Hang on.
Produced by Phil Spector.
Oh.
More than anything in the
She must have been about what, 14 at the time, because
She was, that was her first. This, I think the story is that was her first time in the studio, the first time they let her sing it by herself. She's been quoted to say that she didn't think that the DJs would play that very much because her voice was so low. It sounded more like a man. So she was a little upset that it didn't get much playing time. Well, not very many of the Beatle novelty songs got much playing time. So
Donna, I want to say it's fantastic. We really appreciate your time. And from the bottom of our hearts,
bless
we
you.
love you, right?
Love
And
you too.
Plastic EP and Terry Crain, we wish to thank so much Donna Loren for being on the Plastic EP Beatles Hour. What a fantastic VIP, American icon we have on today. We want everybody to go to your website, which is www.donnaloren.com, and check out your fantastic book, right, which is Pop 60s. You've got autographed photos there. You've got merchandise. You've got so much stuff. Now I want to ask you, Donna, what's happening now at the moment? What's the latest things you can tell all your fans out there?
So, my mantra is love's a secret weapon.
Like the podcast. And we want you to listen to that too. I love it. Now tell everybody all your links now on social media.
Oh my goodness. So, well, I'm on Instagram and Facebook, and you just type in my name. Oh, and yes, and Jared's reminding me on YouTube. So you can either watch some of the Shindig shows, the movies, whatever else I appeared on, as well as you can listen to my podcast on YouTube as well.